The small houses there were occupied by common workers. The small houses may seem picturesque today, but bear in mind that families were larger back then, and expanded families much more common, meaning that these houses were filled to the brim. Bergen has never seen a division between the east and the west side, and the neighbourhoods have usually been quite diverse socially. What Kjærsin lacked in living space is certainly made up for in terms of sun, air and view. From this point you get a clear view of how well the fjords make for good harbours. Many great battles have taken place in the fjord beneath us. Around the point where we started our tour, for example, is where the British bombed the German crosser Königsberg during the invasion in 1940. Another battle of more international scale took place here in 1665. The Dutch East Indian Fleet was attacked by 21 British battleships. The Dutch fleet contained 50 ships loaded with riches and was headed home when they were forced to take a detour around the north of Scotland. Eventually, the Dutch were helped by batteries on shore and the English were forced to retreat.
She's back there. There she is. Huge. Oh, that's lovely. What's this one?
Yes. The sunny side. This was first made a part of Bergen in 1877. This is a very popular neighbourhood. Previously, large families lived in these houses, but today most of the houses have been sectioned into small flats. Unfortunately, this has also meant less children in the neighbourhood, meaning that it is no longer as lively as it used to be. Further down the street, on the right-hand side, you should be able to see. You can also see one of Bergen's most important cruise shores, named Skolten. Large cruise ships are usually docked here through the summer season. They usually stop coming in September when they change course for warmer climates. Bergen is, as you might already know, one of Europe's largest docks for cruise ships and is frequented several hundred times during the short summer season. Further out north, there is a part of town where old houses are built to resemble an old neighbourhood. It is called Old Bergen and is a dynamic and vivacious museum presenting 18th and 19th century Bergen. We will not visit the museum, but it is easily reached by bus.
So done? Yes.
We are now taking you through Laudagora, and what you see on your left is named the Home of Peace. It is an old cemetery, and a legendary lady from Bergen called Margaret rests here. She lived in a part of town called Sandviken, and was infamous for selling beer without any kind of official permission. The people of Bergen know her well, and have made a song in her honor. Straight ahead lies a park, previously used as a fort. It is from the year 1183 and is named Sverresborg after King Sverre. The slightly special building on its left used to be a public scrubbing house where people could take a shower and was undoubtedly needed for hygienic purposes, as baths and water closets were not common in those days. The building is about 100 years old. Today it rooms a charming tavern. We will soon approach the oldest building in Bergen, St. Mary's Church. Parts of the church dates back to before year 1100, and the church was used by the Hanseatic League. The Hanses named the churches after St. Mary's in all the cities where they established their offices. St. Mary's Church is well worth a visit, for both its exterior and interior. It is said to be one of the most beautiful churches in Norway. It is a church filled with decorative treasures, such as an outstanding altar and hand-carved figures of the apostles, dating back to 1632. The chandelier was installed as early as the 16th century. The German tradesmen didn't exactly want for money. They traded wheat for dried fish, a Norwegian specialty, and made good money off the trade. To the left behind St. Mary's is the Medieval Museum, which contains collections of finds archaeologists found underneath the house in the area. After a fire in 1955, there will be more information on Bergen later on. First, we will take a quick tour of the homeland, or what is now called Bergenhus.
On the right-hand side of the big red flag, you can see Bergenhus Fortress and Museum. The museum has excellent smuggling systems. Bergenhus Fortress is and so access
Small island. This area was only in the 16th century, since the water used to reach further during tide, thus creating a small island in the area. This means that the area we now call Bergenhus was actually not firm ground during most of the Middle Ages. During the 12th century, the king's residence was moved from Alvesta to Holland. As we mentioned earlier, Håkon had the wall of the city built in 1248 to protect the city from fires and military attack. Håkon also had a hall built in his honor, King Håkon's Hall, in 1261. This is considered to be the greatest landmark from the Norwegian Middle Ages. During the High Middle Ages, all of Norway was actually administered from this point. One might want to note that this was the most central point in the kingdom back then. Also, geographically speaking, the High Middle Ages is considered to be the time where the Norwegian kingdom blossomed like never before, and it happened during the rule of these kings, Håkon Håkonsson, Magnus Lagabøte, and Eirik Magnusson. They all ruled from this very location. During the 13th century, Norway was a North Sea empire. Iceland, Greenland, and even as far as the Isle of Man was all under Norwegian rule. Besides being a political centre, Holmen also housed the Norwegian bishop. He had several religious buildings erected, such as Kristkirken, Apostelkirken, and Katarina-kirken. All of them are unfortunately either burnt down or destroyed. Kristkirken was known for its beauty. It was destroyed by the Danish king's army in 1531. They claimed it to be too near the bastions. Olav Kyrre had initiated the building, but it was not consecrated before 1170, 100 years later. Another building worth some notice is the Rosencrantz Tower. Parts of the building dates back to Erik Rosencrantz days, and the building is named after him. The tower was meant to appear threatening and keep the Hansas, who were growing more and more powerful, in check. The area we are in was struck by a terrible disaster in 1944. A German ship carrying ammunition took fire, and it resulted in a huge explosion. It happened on Hitler's birthday, the 20th of April. At first it was thought to be sabotage, but this turned out to be false. The Germans admitted that the fault was their own, and that the ship had not followed proper procedure. The explosion was terrible for Bergenhus, as several great old buildings were destroyed. As the wave of pressure stretched throughout the town, it caused great damage to the citizens. Over 100 people lost their lives. Many suffered lifelong damages. 13,000 were reported to have suffered damage, and 5,000 had to seek medical help. Private and government property suffered damages, resulting in great financial losses. As a matter of fact, remnants from the anchor belonging to the boat was found atop the mountain in San Miguel. All in all, this was a terrible
building going on around the back.
We have now returned to Bergen. Bergen has suffered several fires, and in the aftermath of the last fire in 1955, powerful sources wanted to tear it all down and rebuild the entire area. Fortunately, this did not happen. Bergen is now officially a World Heritage Site in accordance with UNESCO. A common belief is that the Hansas built the buildings on Bergen. This is not true. Men from the Norwegian nobility built sea houses here for purposes of trade. In the back of Bryggegårdene, you find something called Sjøstuene, a place where people gathered to eat. This was the only place where open fire was permitted, so as to prepare food. The rules of conduct here were very strict. This building has been reconstructed to show some of the everyday life during the Middle Ages here at Bryggen. Today, these buildings are used for several purposes. Many of them are restaurants, and lots of artists use them as galleries. Bryggen arranges a lot of guided tours for those who are interested. A great environmental research for Bergen is that parts of Bryggen is actually below sea level, parts of the air. If the water rises any further, it can lead to great destruction of our world heritage, and the situation requires drastic action. The first in the line of Bryggen houses is called Kjøpmannsstuen, meaning the house of merchants. This building is from 1912. On the same lot, however, was a similar building which housed club rooms for the merchants on Bryggen. A lot of the buildings here were demolished around year 1900 and rebuilt in more fireproof material. The only original in this row of houses is Finnegården. It is the building on the end to the left. The next building you see is the Hanseatic Museum, which is decorated in the exact way the Hansas decorated it during their time here. We're now back where we started, and would like to thank you for joining us on this tour and wish you a pleasant stay here in Bergen.